Hey everyone, Cable with the Antique Book Collective, and today I'm actually addressing a question that I wanted to ask on this channel a long time ago, but, well, I sort of needed some subject matter to do for this video. Like, I needed my Exhibit A, you know? And that question, guys, is, are rebound books worth anything? Like, repaired books, are they worth anything? And, guys, I've been doing this business for years and years and years. I actually have never come across a book that was rebound. I've had some books that had some minor repairs, abso-stinkin'-lutely, but I've never had one that was rebound. One that was like really old, got ratty, and they actually put in the time and money to give it a new cover, some new binding, all that sort of stuff. And as such, I never had anything to show you guys as I explained this, so I never was able to be like, oh, this is what it looks like. Yeah, I know I have shown you guys some books that were repaired or cleaned or that sort of thing, but never rebound. And guys, I just wanted to say right off the bat, rebound books, they can either be worth about the same or substantially less than the original book if the original book was in a similar condition. So guys, this book here is from 1791. Check it out. It doesn't look like it's from 1791 whatsoever, so actually I want to tell you guys a story about me finding this, but before I do that, I also want to say, before that, that this book, guys, being from 1791, you can tell by the cover that this is not the original cover. I was actually able to find a couple people who were selling the actual original cover versions of this book. It's pretty hard to find, honestly, but I was able to find it eventually, and it's funny because those covers, they were ratty as everything, and the people were asking like $45 for it. And I was like, well, I don't want to take too little on this book because it's pretty stinking dandy. But I know that rebound books are not worth quite what the other books like it are if they are not rebound. Because let's face it, if you guys are buying a Lamborghini, maybe not Lamborghini. If you guys are buying a 65 Mustang, something like that, let's just say. If you guys are buying that, if someone put a new chassis on it, new this and this and this, and they changed out a whole lot of parts, but they're like, oh, but it still has the original body, that actually is not going to be worth the same as if it has all the original parts. People do like to get things that are all original. So for instance, actually, my mom, she actually bought something called an Opel GT. If you guys haven't seen that, I actually recommend it, checking it out at least. It's seen as, and it was called the poor man's Corvette, and if you guys look at it, you'll quickly understand why. But pretty cool car, and there are a lot of people that actually do engine swaps on it to give it more power, make it actually go fast, because it's running on a four-banger, as in like a four-cylinder engine. It's not very quick at all, but it's a pretty cool little car, and there are people who do the engine swaps, and when they do the engine swap, the car goes from this much in value to this much in value, oftentimes, unless, of course, that they do the swap very, very well, then it might maintain value or be worth a little bit more. But people do like buying those cars if they have all the original parts. And with that said, back to books, all the original parts, that is something that people do want to look for. They don't want to get a book that is from the 1700s that looks like it was from 1965. And this book, guys, I don't know exactly when it was rebound, but based on my experience, I would say it was rebound roughly between the 40s and 60s-ish. That's sort of when they did these sort of like waxy, I know waxy isn't the word, but it feels sort of waxy with the cloth cover, where they sort of paint over the cloth. I don't know the exact technical definitions of these sorts of covers, but this is something that I have seen a lot from that sort of era. But with that said, though, guys, this book, this is the story I want to tell you guys. This book, when I saw it, I was going through all these other old books, and I was like, well, this is interesting. First off, I read the thing. I was like, Armenian magazine. I was like, Armenian, like Armenia? That's weird. I didn't know that they spoke English, because they don't, and I was thinking, I was like, that's interesting. I wonder if it was... No, I don't remember Armenia ever being like an English colony. What's going on here? 1791, it was part of the Ottoman Empire, I believe, and I was just like going through all the history I know, and I'm like, why is this in English? And then I was like, maybe it's a translation of it, and then I was like, who would translate a magazine from Armenia? And then I did some research later, and I found out that this was actually from a very cool revivalist dude. I recommend looking up the history of this one just because of that. For me, I'm a Christian. I love the Christian history stores sort of stuff, so this book actually is a whole lot cooler because of that. But back to what I was saying about the story, I was looking at this book, I'm like, it says 1791. Man, these pages sure look old for the cover, and I didn't I didn't really open up this book. I knew that it was worth something, so I ended up paying $4 for it. I was trying to, when I was buying these books, pay about 10% of the value of the books, because end of the day, the extra 90% that does cover my expenses, because let's face it, I have to list these books. I have to lug them all around. I had a lot of lugging around to do for these books, guys. Oh, let me tell you. But I had to lug them all around. I have to store them. I have to, again, list them. I have to ship them. It's a whole lot of work on my end. And because of that, I try to pay for some of these different collections that I do. I try to do about 10%. People are normally pretty stinking happy with that, so that's just something to keep in mind for the future for you guys. It might be worth paying 10% of a value for a book. If you guys go too much, it hurts your profits. For me, profits are sort of the reason why I'm doing my business. That and, of course, saving some old books. In this case, these books weren't really destined for the dumpster, so I did pay a little bit more than what I normally would. But with that said, $4 for this book, a little more than what I normally like to spend, but the reason why I spent that was I was like, okay, there's something up about this book. I have no idea. So I'm going to pay $4 just so I can, like, do a video on it for when I finally figure out what's going on with this thing, because I actually did not know what was going on with it when I bought it. I was just like, what is going on here? I want to find out. And I was like, when I find out, I'm going to share it with my YouTube channel, because I think it's pretty stinking dandy. Whatever this thing's story is, I wanted to know it. So I actually opened it on up, and as you guys can see, it actually came from a local university, and it's an ex-library book, so it's not worth nearly what it would be otherwise. I'm still asking $45 for it. Probably not going to get the $45, but I thought it was quite interesting. So you open it on up, and it's like, well, this is new paper. New paper. This is not an old book. But I mean, you'll look at this part, and it's like, this looks like an old book to me. I mean, actually, let me just hold this up for you guys closely. So here's this. You see how clear and white that page is, and then here's a random page deeper in. Hold on. Those are different colors. You got foxing on it. It's like something's going on here. There's some water damage here. It's like, what? Hold up. So when I was going through this book, guys, I opened it on up, flipped to the next page, and it's like, oh, hello. Does that say 1793? And then I was like, and that's definitely 1793 handwriting. Because if you guys do this long enough, you'll get to the point where you can see sort of the calligraphy from the different years, and you're like, that looks like it's about this century. That's about this century. That's about this decade of this century. But it's funny. I was looking at it and was like, well, that's interesting. And I also want to show off something else, though, guys. See right here next to my fingers, you have the new paper here on the corner, but the old paper over here. They actually have like a little part where the edge was ripped off and they actually replaced the paper. That's something that you will see sometimes when people repair these books. With that said, just flipping through a little bit more. Oh, forgive me, guys. It's sort of hard to do with some of these old papers sometimes because they're varying thicknesses. Some are thick as everything, some are rather thin. And as we can see here, guys, we got good old Reverend John Wesley. There's the title. There's him. And guys, I know I mentioned earlier that you guys should check out the history. This history, John Wesley actually made a magazine. It wasn't called the Armenian Magazine too long, but it was called that for several years, and then he actually died in 1792, so this being 1791 was the year before he died, which I think just makes this book even cooler, is the fact that it's one of the last editions of his magazine that were made. And again, I just think that's the coolest thing. And Armenian is not actually named after the country, it's named after a dude, and seeing as that dude's last name was Armenian, I'm willing to bet he was Armenian, and all that sort of stuff. But guys, this is a fan-stinking-tastic book. I mean, I think it's really stupid cool. I'm actually very pleased that I actually have it. I mean, it honestly feels a little bit honoring to have it after all these years, to think that this book was in someone's hands in 1791. Or if we're going off the date that the dude wrote the thing that said he got it, 1793. That's still pretty stinking old. I was born 1998, guys. This thing is hundreds of years older than even me. It's like, wow, that is so stinking cool. And I thought it was really interesting, though, that they've rebound this book. And then when I looked at the other editions of this book that people have, there's a ratty as everything. It's like, oh, well, this one probably was the same case, especially being an ex-library book, probably was very much the same case where it looked ratty. So they gave it a new cover. And as such, though, guys, a new cover can definitely hurt the value of a book. For me, I actually do not try to repair books when I come across them. I try to leave them as is. There is one book, actually. Excuse me. There is one book actually that I'm planning on repairing. I'm going to do this on video most likely. This one here, it's on rare coins, and I've shown you guys this before, but its binding is just completely fallen apart. It's got its signatures, all this. So I am planning on repairing this one. I'll probably do it on camera because I am sure that you guys will have some interest in that sort of thing. This book's not too valuable as it is, so as such I am willing to play around with it. And in addition to that, I'm a bit of a nerd for history things, including old coins, hence why we got some old coins over there. So I think that this book is a little bit cooler. For me, I'm personally thinking about repairing it just for my own satisfaction, my own use. Potentially, I might end up selling it to a coin store to get some coins myself. I don't know. We'll see. But that is something that I'll be doing in the future. I don't repair most of the books that I come across. I do clean quite a few of the books, especially if they are a special kind of nasty, but I don't want to go too deep on the cleaning. I don't want to cause damage. I don't want to deface it. I don't want to... Back to the car illustration. If we have an old Mustang and it's all dented up, if you do it with Bondo, it actually can hurt the value of the car. Whereas if you do it the right way and you use metal or you beat out the dent or that sort of thing, it can actually maintain its value. People don't like having a car that has Bondo on it. And let's face it, a new cover on a book is a bit like Bondo, or it's a bit like replacing parts that you really shouldn't be replacing. So when I get books that I'm trying to sell, I try to not do the Bondo sort of thing. I don't try to rebind them if I don't have to. Of course, I do have some books that I rebind, but it's the vast minority. By and large, I do try to sell books exactly as they are. I've mentioned in other videos that I've had some that have mold on them. Yeah, I'll clean the mold sometimes. Other times I'll just throw the book out, or I just, more often than not, won't buy it in the first place. But with that said and done though, guys, I hope this was all helpful. I hope that rambling on and on about a Rebound, really cool Rebound, but a Rebound book was helpful at the end of the day. I do want to let you guys know that if you do repairs on books like these, if you can do a period accurate repair to these books, that will definitely not hurt the value as much as if you do something like this, where it's like, well, that's clearly not the original cover. But if you do something that's like, oh, is this the original cover? That can definitely help the book not lose as much value once you do your repairs. I know that this book was not the best example because, again, I'm asking about the same price as what people who have the original are asking, but sometimes there's exceptions to the rule. In this case, I'm thinking this book is probably the exception to the rule with how rare it is, how good of condition the pages themselves are in. I'm thinking it's a little bit of an exception to the rule, but again, guys, it can be worth a whole lot less. Potentially it could be worth more. I mean, if we're talking the only other edition of the book is worth $100 and it only has 5 pages left, whereas you have the whole book but it's rebound, you're probably going to be worth more than the one that only has 5 pages. But end of the day, it sort of is something you have to mix and match with. It's something you have to play with. And guys, I know I said already at the beginning of the video that I have never come across a Rebound book, so as such, I am, believe it or not an expert on it. I'm not an expert on a lot of things. I wouldn't even say I'm an expert on books, honestly, and you guys have seen my channel, and you guys know I do know a little bit, but I'm anything but an expert. But with all that said and done, though, guys, this is something that I will most likely update you guys on once this one sells. I personally am pretty sure that it's going to sell for $45 or close to it. When you have a book from 1700s, it's probably going to be worth a little bit. So that's a good rule of thumb that I try to go by. But with that said and done though, guys, thank you for watching. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please be sure to subscribe, drop a like, drop a comment, all that sort of stuff. And if you guys would like to learn more about antique book selling, be sure to check out one of my other videos. And I'll see you guys in the next one.